The hardest part about filming YouTube videos sometimes is finding things to talk about. See, I could go on and on about certain topics, but I kind of like to have a bit of variety. So I figured today we'll talk about something slightly different. In fact, it's sneaking up over there. We'll talk about some of my new acquisitions when it comes to Wooden Railway and talk about sort of where I'm going with collecting at the moment. So without further ado, let us begin. So I'm kind of focusing on two main collecting areas at the moment. Now, those of you who've been watching me for a while know that I'm a big collector of the 2010 to 2012 Tomy box. Although, as I've said multiple times, Tomy box is something of a misnomer. It's often been called the Tomy box because there's a strong association with that era of Thomas Wooden Railway. Really, it's not though. It's the final revision of the Learning Curve box design, which, when you think about it, it's basically just a refinement. In fact, conveniently, the Tomy box design is just a refinement on the 2009 box design, which is just in itself a refinement on the 2008 box design, which is just itself a refinement on the 2004 box design, 405, which is then, I'd say, very much divorced from the earlier 2001 to 2003, etc., etc., etc. Really, it's just the final revision. And I genuinely still want to collect this box. However, in Australia at least, it's been somewhat challenging to find characters I need, characters I want to get, at an affordable price. So I've sort of been neglecting this collection a little bit. In fact, I haven't been collecting as much Wooden Railway as I used to do. I mean, I say that, then if I turn the camera around, then you can clearly see that there's still a lot of Wooden Railway happening behind the scenes. So I'm left to something of a predicament. What do I do now? Well, two things. The first one occurred toward the end of last year, and that was I picked up this guy. Now, for some reason, Mattel boxed items from this rough era have been coming up on eBay relatively cheap over the past few months. This one, though, is special, and this is what I'll talk about first, is that I've been trying to grow a certain collection. These are some of the items I've been able to acquire. Now, some of you may already be able to tell what these are from, but those who do not, those who haven't heard of this before, allow me to enlighten you. These are what are called TAT releases, or 2012 releases of Mattel products. Now, what differentiates a 2012 from a later release? Well, for one, is the factory that the products are made at. Now, there are two main factories for this era, I believe. I think there's TAT, there's also RSS. Now, I am purely a TAT collector. I don't actually really collect anything else. That and TLE. Now, TLE is like the really late stuff that's really low quality. But TAT, which was among the first stuff produced for Mattel, is really, really high quality. It's probably the best Wooden Railway ever looked. The second way, of course, is the box design itself. Now, these go by a few names, but you can also call them the tall boxes. Because if you look here at this 2015 Ferdinand, you'll note the box is significantly shorter. I mean, you think about it, this height difference probably saved a fortune on cardboard. It also allowed the box to be a uni design, like sort of a unibody design. I mean, not quite, it's like a two-part design. We've got the attached, this plastic piece, which is just fully attached up here. But if you look at this Gordon, it had to be a separately fitted part, which I think just cut down on cost. I can't imagine these boxes were cheap. I mean, we're not talking massive cost, we're not talking sheep stations here, but there would have been a cost. That and TAT was very quickly discontinued. Not discontinued, but they swapped out to other factories because it was probably just too expensive. I mean, this Ferdinand here is an RSQ release, and the only reason I picked this up at all was because this was $20. The Gordon, I think, was $30 from memory, so really, really cheap. And, you know, I picked up the Gordon, and then I picked up one or two others, and I went, you know what, I may as well just start a TAT collection. So, unfortunately, I haven't got that many characters yet, but I do have some nice ones. I mean, Gordon's pretty nice. It's a nice one to have. Winston. There's two TAT releases of Winston, actually. You've got one with the painted wheels, and this one. Both TAT, This one's just slightly later. Still, very cool. Dash, a little bit of box wear, but you can't really complain too much. Again, this is another one. This is a 0633 TAT. They sort of go to March, April of 2013 from memory. Then they really start to drop off, and that's when you start getting RSS coming in. And I think, was it KQ? There's a few different factories for Mattel. For anyone wondering, the Gordon was a March, April 2013. And topping us off, we have this James. Probably James is one of the harder ones to get. This is a 165? 1023. 1023 TAT. So roughly the same era as Gordon. They're all roughly the same era. Now, I remember seeing these in shops. I never bought them, and I kind of regret it. I feel like this was sort of the era where I was out of Thomas Swin Railway collecting. I still had the stuff, and I still would occasionally buy things. But it was only when I started really working in 2018, 2019, that I finally started to pick it up again. But still, this is a modest start, but it's a start. And considering the fact that these are still not common, again, you're dealing with about a year tops to be able to find them. I'm pretty happy that I've been able to pick up 4 so far. And I didn't pay more than 40 Australian for any of these. It's roughly my benchmark. 40, I have to think about it. 30, I pretty much impulse buy because, the Gordon was 30. They just don't come up that cheap. So that's TAT boxed collecting. So let's talk about the other stuff. So this is all, you might have seen the Oliver already. And this is part of my other collecting I do. So yeah, I collect 2010, 2011. Yeah, I collect TAT. But I also have a soft spot for the early 2000s boxes. So your 01 to 03 boxes. Now, I tend to have a preference away from the 2001s, just because I'm not a massive clickety-clack guy. I was born in the traction rail era, and I've got a real sense of attachment to those kind of boxes that I remember seeing. But these would have been on the shelves roughly at the same time. You also have what I like to call... Now, there may be some confusion, but let me explain. So you've got you've got 01 boxes, and then you've got 02 boxes. But 02 boxes don't have the year 02 on them, except European ones. We're not going to go there. Instead, the main way you can tell is if you look at the logo. So if you look at this logo, it's got featuring clickety-clack track down the bottom. Also, inside the box, you'll see there's a bit of clickety-clack track, like a sticker, like printed on the box, down the bottom. Whereas this Boco, you'll see that it doesn't have that track down the bottom there. And it also just has the Thomas Win Railway logo, no featuring clickety-clack. So Oliver and Toby were part of the same lot. And this was, I think, 50 or 60 Australian with postage. So about $30 each, which again, that's my impulse buy figure. Because if they're around that figure, I tend to go, yeah, why not? Because usually these things are 50, 60. Oliver is pretty hard to find from this era. Came with an 01 card, for anyone curious. It's also I should mention it's also an US box, which is a bit disappointing. I tend to be, I prefer Australian boxed items. And you'll see here that unfortunately I don't have a lot to show today that are Aussie box. This had the 01 card in it, I believe. It needs the 01 card. I'd be a bit surprised if it wasn't the 01 card. Let's have a quick look. Not sealed, but, as new condition. Because if that was the 2000, I don't think I have that card, but I doubt it would. Let's have a quick look. Squizzy beak. I think that's the 2001 card. It is, you can just sort of barely make out. It's definitely the 2001. Which is really actually quite nice. And then the Toby, I was really excited because this is an 01 box Toby, and I went, yeah, you can finally get an 01 card. Because weirdly, easy to find 2000 cards, easy to find 2002 cards, 2001, not so much. The card in this box is unfortunately, and quite annoyingly actually, a 2000 card. Which, needless to say, confused the shit out of me, because I wanted a 2001. And as you can see here, that is very clearly 2000 card, which is really common. And I think that might be why, because this Toby sort of answered that question for me. I guess that some 2001 Tobys did come out with a 2000 card, which would explain why, naturally, 2000 card's really common, and the 02 card's really common, but the 01 isn't, and the 99 isn't. It's just merely sample size. We did see one from before, so I may as well bring this guy. This was the only Aussie box I picked up. It was Boko. Now, this was an impulse buy because the price was right. This was $90, which is a lot more than I usually pay for a Wooden Railway item, even boxed. But it was cheap enough for a Boko. The reality is, loose Bokos, they vary in price, but they hover around that $56 range. New and box, they've been going up to $200, and I went, well, I may as well. It's there. It fulfills my criteria. It's an 03. It's an Australian box, which you can tell because it has this 3+ sticker. An Australian box. It's an 03. It meets all my criteria, and I don't have a new box Boko at all. So I sort of went, well, I got to buy it at some point, so I may as well just bite the bullet. And that's what happened, and I don't regret it. I don't think I'll find one particularly cheaper unless I bought one in a bulk lot, which just isn't happening really much in Australia anymore. So yeah, box is overall not perfect, but you know, for being how old it is, in fact, it actually does have a code, I believe. Yes, it is a 3323WJ, so it is actually a late 2003 release. Now, Boko's cool, and Boko also went for quite a bit longer than you might think. I know the wiki says 05, but we have seen 06 coded Bokos. And when I say 06, I mean really late 06. By the time they would have hit shelves, it would have been 2007. So Boko, which is this character I think it's always thought of as being very short-lived, really had quite a long life when you really break it down. I mean, not to get too caught up on this, you had Boko from 92, 93. I think it might have been in the 94 pamphlet. It's one of those weird ones. 92, 93 to about 96. And that's a period of 3-ish years. Then in the James Goes Buzz set, you had him from 99 to 2001. It's another 3 years, so 6 years. Then in 02, you had him in the 3-pack with Laurie 3 and Tiger Moth. So that's 7 years. And then you had him individually from 03 to 2007. What's that, about 11 years? 11 years. Granted that some of that was a little bit, so if you want to take out the years, then realistically more like 7, but that's still a fair time. I do quite like Boko's model too. I think it's the perfect blend of simplicity, but still enough detail. I think Mavis, for instance, suffers from, I think, not enough detail in comparison to Daisy too, but Boko feels just right. This was another impulse buy. In fact, this Oliver and Toby were from the same seller, seller called Bachorley. Had a lot of Wooden Railway stuff. I think they were just trying to get rid of the last few stragglers they had left, so they were pretty cheap. This is a 2001 box Duke. You can tell it's got the Old Style logo. Sadly, not an Australian box, but still, again, it's that $30, $40 with postage. I think slightly less than $40 with postage. The box is a bit beat. It's not perfect, but I have a strong affinity for this Duke, this era of Duke. You know, he was always very mystical to me growing up. I mean, I had the 2008 re-release, but it never felt as interesting to me. This might be my first old style Duke that's from like 01. I don't know why, but particularly the 01 version really does it for me. In fact, I have a spare tender sitting in a box over there, but not a character I see often. You know, I feel like you see a lot of the 08 version, not a lot of the original, and I really, really like this version of Duke. I like the darker colours, even if the other one's a bit more, probably more accurate to its sort of updated model, but again, really love it. And that face, I just think it was done so well. Just a gorgeous model. Again, box is a bit battered, but it's an 01. It's got an 01 card. Very, very cool. Brings us to the last one, and this was one I frankly didn't think I'd actually own. I probably paid a little bit under what you'd expect to pay, but it's this. It's the 2-pack. It's the Coldie. This one's from Imaginarium, which I think is an American store from memory. It would have been because maybe this was Australian. It's priced at $16.99, which could be Australian. It could also be American. I'm not 100%, but yeah, it's Coldie with boxcar, or just as it says on the box, Coldie. Now, I actually really want an 01 boxed Coldie. I've been meaning, or 02 boxed Coldie. I've been meaning to buy one. I really should have bought Miss Thomas Queens. But I saw this for sale. Weirdly from the same guy I bought my Holden Nova advertising signs from. It was $75 or thereabouts, and I went, sure. I think it might have been about $80, $90. I think I offered him a real low ball, but he still took it. It's an 01 box. You can see it's got the featuring Clickety Clack. You can see it's got the Clickety Clack track down the bottom there. And you can see it's got an 01 Coldie card. Not a special card for this one. Not like a Fire Rescue, which I finally managed to get the card for. It's part of like a few for 2-packs that they sort of did around that era. I have a couple. I've got Coldie. I've got the Percy with the chocolate crunch, like the boxcar, Chocolate Factory boxcar. Really want the Neil. Really want Fire Rescue boxed. The Renee's would be cool. Not something I'm after particularly, but definitely the Neil. Definitely Fire Rescue. I think they're the coolest of the bunch. I still don't have that big fire engine, like the big one. I still don't have that. It's weird. But that sort of caps us off. That's my current, where I'm currently at with some Wooden Railway collecting. I do have a couple of things coming from Ryan still, but yeah, let's sort of do a quick update. I have been a little bit slack. I mean, we did a live stream and then I mean to get this one out. I do have a character card video for Take Along in the works. I filmed it. I was going to release it, and then I didn't because I realised I've still got like another 40 cards coming in that will really add to the collection. Wooden Railway one, there will be an update soon too, but I wanted to film something a bit different for those of you who really enjoy Wooden Railway. I realised that, and I'm going to keep this very brief. I know I like to ramble, but I'll keep this very brief. I think the people who watch this channel there's like 3 or 4 different sects of people who watch the channel. You got those who like the repairs, those who like the collections, those who like Wooden Railway, those who like Tomy, those who like Trackmaster, those who like the cards, and it makes it really challenging to go, well, okay, what video do I film next? I mean, the last one was repair, so I mean, this one has to be this, and then the next one will be character cards, and the one after that will be Repair and Edwards. Anyway, I'm just babbling now. So thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.